All right, everybody, get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into something pretty crucial in the world of AI, self-correction.
Self-correction, yeah. And, you've been looking into some really cutting-edge research on this, especially how to make those large language models the brains behind our favorite AI chatbots way better at spotting their own errors.
Exactly, and I think what's so fascinating about this specific paper, Training Language Models to Self-Correct via Reinforcement Learning, is that it tackles this surprisingly tricky question. How do we actually teach AI to learn from its mistakes and, not just spot errors, but actually fix them effectively?
Right, and the research really starts with this almost surprising finding that, a lot of the current LLMs, they're actually pretty bad at self-correction, especially when they don't have, like, that external feedback to guide them.
It's sort of like a student who can, memorize all the formulas, but then completely freezes up when they actually have to apply that knowledge to a new problem, right?
Yeah. The paper even gives this example of an LLM trying to write a mathematical proof and can get these individual steps right, but then when it tries to put it all together logically,
Hmm.
completely falls apart.
Oh, wow. So it's like they have the knowledge, but not necessarily that higher level reasoning to actually use it independently. So what's the deal with that? What's going on there?
Well, a big part of it seems to be how we've been training AI.
Hey.
Like a lot of the current methods, they kind of fall into these two extremes. So on the one hand, you've got AI that's making these super tiny, like almost insignificant corrections,
Hmm.
like changing a comma or swapping out one synonym for another.
Okay, so not exactly those self-aware AI editors we were all promised, huh?
Not quite. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the AI overcorrecting so intensely that they actually make things worse. The researchers called it, get this, correction divergence.
Correction divergence. That sounds a little ominous, to be honest.
Right. And it can get a little wild. The paper even gives this kind of funny example in the appendix where an AI is trying to solve a math problem.
Right.
And with every attempt at self-correction, the answer just spirals further and further away from the actual solution.
Oh, no. So it's like, on one hand, you've got AI making these completely useless tweaks, and then on the other, it's like watching someone try to fix a flat tire with a sledgehammer, just making the problem 10 times worse. So clearly just telling an AI to do better isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, definitely not. It's not that simple.
So if just telling AI to do better isn't the answer, then what is? This is where things get really interesting, right? Because the paper introduces this whole new method called SCORE.
Score, yeah.
What is that all about?
So SCORE stands for self-correction via reinforcement learning. And it's kind of, I think the easiest way to think about it is like training a puppy.
Okay.
You wouldn't just give a puppy a math textbook and be like, all right, figure it out.
Right. They need those little rewards, those reinforcements to kind of figure it out.
Exactly. And that's kind of the idea behind SCORE. So instead of just bombarding the AI with tons of data, it uses this system of rewards to kind of nudge it towards, better self-correction.
So how do you reward an AI? Like, I'm imagining like little digital treats or something.
Not quite digital treats. But basically, when the AI makes a change that moves it closer to that correct solution, the system gives it this, like, reward signal.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
over time, the AI kind of starts to put these things together. Okay, when I do this, when I make this kind of correction, I get a reward. So that must be the right thing to do.
So it's starting to understand, like, this is a good change. This is better than what I had before.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's starting to make a lot more sense to me now. But you mentioned earlier about those easy way out shortcuts that AI sometimes falls into. So how does SCORE, address that and prevent the AI from just taking those shortcuts?
Right. And that's where I think the really ingenious part of SCORE comes in. Because it doesn't just like throw a problem at the AI and hope for the best, right? It actually uses the AI's own attempts at solving the problem as part of the training material.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so like, you remember that example with the AI struggling with that math proof? So with SCORE, the AI would actually be trained on its own errors in that proof.
Oh, wow.
It's encouraged to analyze its own thought process and be like, okay, where did I go wrong here?
So instead of memorizing an answer or just making these like random changes, it's actually learning, this is how I learn from my mistakes. Like, I messed up here, but let me take a closer look at why I messed up so I can avoid that in the future.
Yeah. Let me reflect on this.
Exact. Let me self-reflect.
And to make sure that the AI is really internalizing this whole process of self-correction, the researchers actually designed SCORE with these two, like, very specific stages of training.
2 stages. Okay, break that down for me.
Yeah. So in the first stage, the AI is given a problem, like, our math proof from before, and it takes a crack at solving it.
Okay.
And then this is the cool part. The AI actually goes back and reviews its own work and makes any corrections that it thinks are needed.
Oh, wow.
So during this stage, it's really all about encouraging the AI to like find its own errors, even if those corrections aren't like perfect yet.
So it's like giving the AI its own red pen, being like, all right, go through your work, see if you can catch any mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then in the second stage of training, things get even more interesting.
Okay.
So the AI gets another shot at solving the problem. But this time, it's using like the corrected version from that first stage as a starting point.
Okay.
And to really like incentivize the AI to make those high-quality self-corrections, the researchers actually built in this reward bonus for when it successfully fixes an error from that first stage.
It's like, in school when you get those extra credit points, you're like, yes, I'm going to go find all my mistakes now.
Exactly.
So we've got this super innovative two-stage training with built-in rewards and everything.
Yeah.
But does it actually work?
Right. That's the real question.
Yeah, like does SCORE actually help AI become better at self-correction?
Well, the research actually gives us some really promising results here. They put SCORE to the test on these two pretty challenging tasks. One of them involved like some complex math problem. And the other one used this benchmark called Human Evil, which basically tests how well AI can write code based on, human instructions.
So we're not just talking about like fixing typos here. We're talking about like AI tackling advanced math and writing functional code.
Exactly.
So what happened? Did SCORE actually make a difference?
Yeah. So on the math benchmark, SCORE actually boosted the AI's self-correction rate by, that's 15.6%.
Wow.
Which is pretty significant.
That's huge.
And on the Human Evil benchmark, the improvement was around 9%.
Still really good.
Still really good.
Yeah.
And to kind of put that into perspective, imagine you're using an AI coding assistant, right?
Right.
That 9% improvement. That could be the difference between waiting like hours for the AI to debug its own code or having a functional program ready to go.
That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Especially for anyone who actually writes code. So are we all out of a job now?
Well, hold your horses. We don't need to start panicking just yet.
Okay.
Because as exciting as these results are, it's really important to remember that this is still very much early stage research.
Okay.
The paper only tested SCORE on 2 rounds of self-correction.
Oh, great.
And in the real world, AI might need to go through way more iterations to actually get things right.
Of course.
And then there's also the question of, applying SCORE to even more nuanced fields like creative writing or scientific research.
Right.
And that's definitely going to require like a lot more development and testing.
Makes sense. So we're not handing over the reins to our AI overlords just yet.
Not just yet.
Which is probably a good thing.
Probably a good thing.
But, still this research is such a huge step toward developing AI that can actually learn how to learn.
Yeah.
And it's almost like giving AI the tools to think more critically about their own work and improve independently.
And that's really the key here.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And it actually ties back really nicely to those rules you laid out for our deep dive today.
Yeah.
We've gone way beyond just like the surface level stuff, right?
Yeah.
We really dug into this fascinating research, challenged our own assumptions about AI's limitations, and I think ultimately gained this whole new perspective on what the future of AI learning could look like.
Absolutely, I think so too. And for you listening, what were your biggest takeaways from this deep dive? What questions does this spark for you about the future of AI? Because I think, as we've seen today, the potential is, well, it's pretty mind-blowing. But that's it for our deep dive into the world of AI self-correction. We've got links to the research paper and some other fascinating reads in the show notes, so be sure to check those out. Until next time, keep those brain cells firing, and we'll catch you on the flip side for another deep dive.